Los Angeles, 1996. Frankie, Stoney, Cleo, and Deshawn are four friends trying to get by. After a series of tragedies forces them to the point of desperation, they turn to robbing banks to take control of their lives. With a police detective hot on their trail and their own differing opinions on how far to go, will they ride off into the sunset together? Or are they headed for something more tragic?
Welcome to Movie Friends. My name is Seth.
And I'm Michelle.
Today we're talking about Set It Off from 1996. Directed by F. Gary Gray. Written by Takashi Buford and Kate Lanier. Cinematography by Mark Rashofsky. Composed by Christopher Yun. Edited by John Carter. Costume design by Sylvia Vega Vasquez. Starring Jada Pinkett Smith, Queen Latifah, Vivica A. Fox, Kimberly Elise, Blair Underwood, and John C. McGinley. Michelle, how are you?
What's going on, Seth? You're clear. This is the first time I could see you on Riverside. Clearly.
It's exciting.
It's really exciting. I mean, you've been blurry for weeks.
Yeah, we've been having technical difficulties, folks.
Yeah, so it's nice to see you.
Hey, thanks. Nice to see you too.
Thanks. So much enthusiasm.
Yeah. Hey, do you have a cat date for us?
Cat date. No, we're same stuff. She's eating well. Things are looking good. I don't think she's gonna die while I'm on vacation.
Good. All right, cool. Yeah, you're heading out. You're heading out, right?
Heading out. Going on
Very
a
cool.
cruise.
You excited?
Not yet. I will be though. I have a lot to do before that. Yeah.
I understand.
I can't get excited until all the things are done, you know?
Is there a theme to this cruise? I know sometimes cruises have themes.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just a regular cruise.
Cool. Okay.
Have you been on a cruise before, Seth?
Never. No
Yeah.
interest.
Mhm.
Not interested in water. Can't swim that well.
Ooh, right. I mean, we're on a boat, so.
Well, boats, get holes.
That's right. We do know that boats have holes. We've talked about this.
That's right.
We have talked about this.
From what I understand, you don't pay for money on a cruise? I mean, you don't pay for food on a cruise?
Well, you pay for the whole trip up front, but then
Right.
all the food is included.
So I could eat 8 meals a day.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All
However, alcohol, like specialty coffee, that stuff isn't included.
Got it.
Yeah. But if you don't care about that.
Yeah, that wouldn't
then
really
you're good to
bother
go.
me. Yeah, that wouldn't bother me too much.
You could just eat your heart out.
I just like the idea of walking up to a counter and just be like, yo, man, throw that eggs in my hand. And I just scarf it and keep walking.
I got nothing for that.
Is that not how it works?
Move on. No, that's not how that works.
Oh, okay.
No.
I can't have people like walk by me with a spoonful of food and drop it in my face as I'm lounging on the deck.
What do you think this is? You're not king of the ship. That's not how it works, Seth. No.
Okay. All right. Are you going to do anything movie related on your cruise?
I was looking ahead at the schedule and there are a lot of movie themed trivia times. So I am going to join them. There's one of like guess that movie tune. There's guess that film because they give you the events ahead of time on the app.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to go to this and like I'm going to plug Movie Friends. Like my goal is to like get some people listening and then they need to write to us and be like, "Hey, I met Michelle on the cruise."
Wow. All right. Very non-vacation minded of you, but I appreciate the hustle.
Yeah, but I mean, that to me is so natural and it comes up in conversation anyway. So I don't know. I don't look at that as so much work. Like if I had to be on my phone doing this, then I'd be like, this feels like work. But in conversation,
right,
I could talk about anything. So we might as well talk about Movie Friends.
Maybe I should go on a cruise if there's movie trivia stuff. I've never done a movie trivia.
Yeah, I mean, Aunt and I were joking. Like I'd only be good if there's trivia about sitcoms, like 80s sitcoms.
What if you Slumdog Millionaire this And like every movie that comes up is like, in 1996, F. Gary Gray directed this heist movie starring, and you're like,
Set it up, set
"Ugh."
it up.
Right. And then it was like, just, I don't know, like just random movies that we've done. And like everyone is a movie that we've done.
Yeah, I mean, that would be so cool. Wouldn't that be so, like, I would feel so, that this podcast, I was meant to do it. You
Right.
know? I did it so I could win trivia on the cruise. Yeah.
But then the flip side of that is it's all movies we've done, but no details that we cover. So everyone in your group is looking at you like, Michelle.
You should know this.
Yeah. And you're like, oh.
We chose not to talk about that part. Seth read about it and I didn't.
That's the funny thing about movies. It's like you can have watched thousands of movies, you can know all this stuff, but as soon as someone is like, hey, what do you know about Set It Off from 1996? You're like, nothing. And they're like, well, I guess you don't really
Nothing.
know a lot about movies. It's like,
It's so
no.
true. And that's me all the time because I absorb for a conversation and then it's gone. Gone.
So we have an email.
Finally.
And this person is writing in about our episode on House Party. And they start off referring to the whole Will Smith, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and Kid and Play kind of missed opportunities, whatever thing. So they say that sliding doors moment is culture changing. And I agree. It would have been totally different if the Fresh Prince was Kid and Play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They say, I loved the cartoon when I was a kid, which I feel like I need to check out. And I miss those commercials. P.S. Stab's shirt is the best. PSS is Full Force, one of the best movie groups. PSS, I love when Seth tries to talk fashion. It should be a bit on each episode. And PS,
I agree.
SSS, I've never seen that after credits scene.
Yeah. You talking about fashion is definitely one of my favorite bits here. Like
I know nothing.
Andy's camisole from Breakfast Club still kills me, Seth. Still, I think about that on the reg.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
And that email's from Ben.
Okay, I kind of figured, but the people should know.
That's right.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. If you want to be like Ben, send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you're looking forward to in March.
Yeah.
Are you going to see Dune 2? Are you going to see other movies that are coming out in March that I don't know yet?
Are you going to send me an email because it's my birthday month?
Wow.
You should. 321. It's not that hard to remember the date.
Hashtag Michelle's birthday email.
Please.
It's not my best work.
I think it could be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you said the date of your birthday because I definitely forgot.
Well,
but 321 is easy to remember.
I know, and I don't expect anybody to remember it. But listeners, here's a prompt for you to send me an email. 321.
So I'm excited to talk about this movie. I don't know how you feel.
Me too. I am pumped.
We're here. February is over.
Wow.
We did it. This is the last in our February series focusing on films from Black directors.
Yep.
And we somehow managed to do this without a Spike Lee film.
I know. I'm shocked, Seth, because you said in January we have to do a Spike Lee movie.
He's one of my favorite directors.
I know.
But you know what? I kind of like how this turned out. I like that we didn't go for some of the more obvious ones.
Yeah. And there's still time. We have a whole year.
It's true. It's true.
Seth
month is coming.
That's right. Seth month is coming.
Michelle month is coming sooner, but well, anyway. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So before we watch a movie for the first time, Michelle records her pre-watch thoughts. I should have done it. I thought that I had seen at least parts or most of this movie, and then going into it, I was like, nope, never seen it before. So I should have also recorded my thoughts. And I believe this is the first movie we're ever doing where both of us haven't seen it. Is that correct?
You know, you said this last week, and I feel like it's not, but I couldn't remember another time.
Yeah.
Maybe it was for like...
It might have been a Patreon.
That's what I'm thinking.
Patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. By the way, we have so many episodes that you are missing out on. And it's $5 a month, which at this point is the cost of half of a hot dog. Okay? You walk into any, Jimmy John's or Dunkin' Donuts and you say, I would like half a hot dog, please. They're going to tell you $5. For the price of that, you're missing out on a lot of great stuff.
Okay. What? Have a hot dog? Dunkin' Donuts sells hot dogs?
Half of them. Anyway, this is what happens when I just try to plug in information without thinking about it ahead of time. So we're going to go to Michelle's pre-watch thoughts while she recovers herself.
Have a hot dog. Like, what the fuck? Going in to Set It Off completely blind. I've never heard of this movie. I Googled just to see if I could recognize any of the promo photos that went along with it. Nope, nothing. So I'm really excited because this is the last movie for February. The patrons chose it, so I'm curious to see what they all voted on. And the cast is amazing. So let's do this.
So yeah, same. I mean, like I just said, I had heard of this, but I never saw it and like literally had no idea what this movie was about. I thought I had an idea. None. Nope.
Wow. Okay, so the patrons chose this one. They
Yep.
voted and chose this one. Do we know why they chose this one?
No, I don't pry.
What? So we have no explanation of why this one was
No,
the lucky winner?
I believe that Cosmo is the one who like nominated this movie.
Okay.
And I had messaged her about it and I was like, "Hey, by the way, we're doing this movie and also, wow, this is so depressing." And she was like, "Yes, this is a great movie. I don't know that I want to revisit it because it's so dark and depressing."
Wow.
And I also wasn't expecting that. And I don't want to jump all the way ahead, but I'm just going to say this movie really surprised me several times.
I agree to that.
Mm-hmm.
I will agree to that. Before we get started, because I'm like chomping at the bit here.
Yeah.
Can I present to you my light bulb moment?
Absolutely.
Okay. This movie
Yeah.
is a darker, edgier Little Women.
Wow. Wow.
It's
Wow.
four
Wow.
sisters, okay? They want more for themselves. We have Stony, who's Joe.
Yeah.
We have Frankie, who's Meg.
Yeah.
We have Titi, who's Beth. And then we have Cleo, who's Amy.
Wow. Wow. That's great comparison.
Digest it, revel in it. What do you think? Do you agree with me?
I think it's great. Yeah. I thought you were going to say this is like a darker, edgier Thelma and Louise.
Well, that's the obvious.
Well, I know. Yours is much, much, much better. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I can see it. That's great. Yeah, you just like my brain just shut off and turned back on for a second because of the magnitude of that comparison.
I've been wanting to text this to you, and I'm like, nope, save it for the show.
You held it
Save
in.
it for the show. I held it in.
Good job. Good job. I tried holding in everything and not texting you about stuff, and I can't remember.
You
Oh,
didn't
I know.
really text me stuff.
I had texted you because I was sometimes there are things that I can't articulate in my notes, but I mentioned to you so that in my mind it's like, all right, the burden of remembering is now on Michelle.
Oh, that's why you do those things?
Sometimes,
Great.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, to me,
Good
it's
to
like,
know.
okay, if two people know about this, there's a much higher chance that it will get brought up.
Asterisk if that person's not Michelle.
But like, I had trouble like articulating. What did I say?
That this isn't a typical heist movie and that we don't see them planning out every step.
Right. Like, I feel like most heist movies always go to the big pulling the rug underneath from the bad guys and from the audience. And oh, this was part of the plan all along. Or we get all of these lawn scenes, maybe montages set to music, whatever, of like them planning and mapping and drawing and rehearsing and all that stuff. And this movie has almost none of that. And it was so cool and refreshing to see how you can do a movie that's like a well dug in genre and just completely bypass that whole part of it, and it
Hmm.
still is like good.
Well, right. Because, and it's not flashy in any way. Like, we're
Nope.
not like swept up and like, oh, this is
Nope.
so cool and smooth. It's like, no, we have Frankie's knowledge and that's about it.
And
And some wigs.
that's it. And the wigs aren't even good.
No.
Yeah. Like
These
this.
disguises.
y-
What's happening?
Yeah. I feel like this movie walks the line of like absolutely believable, but then
Right.
is like, no, it's still a movie and we're driving through walls. And
Right.
big
Right.
shout out. I don't know if you caught him. Big shout out to the cook who got thrown onto his own flat top griddle when she drove through the bank wall. It's like
Uh-huh.
a
Yeah.
1 second clip.
Poor
And I
guy.
was like, why did that have to happen to that guy? I didn't know that that guy existed before this. And now I have to think about the ramifications of him getting thrown
Oh,
onto a turned on
no.
flat top and ruining his life forever. Like,
Yeah, good
just
point.
leave that guy out of it.
Yeah. Well, we have to show destruction in multiple ways
Right. I
with
guess
that.
so.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this movie. I feel like I need to start by saying I do really like this movie,
Me too.
and I think it's crazy. Um, but I don't want to like lead people on who are listening to this and be like, does Seth like this? Just in case our conversation leans towards maybe picking things apart a little bit more.
Hmm.
So, spoiler alert, I like this movie.
Got it. I'll keep that in mind to
Okay.
rein it
Yeah.
back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of felt like this was a movie in 3 parts and also 3 genres.
What 3 genres?
The first 40 minutes is drama.
I love that we just start so
Yes.
intensely.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going into the credits and like drawn out and blah. Like, we are in it and it grabs your attention right away. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, that's what sold me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm in this. I am
Right.
here. Yeah.
We have all these tragedies befalling all of these women,
Yeah.
except for Queen Latifah. Her tragedy is that she's been fixing her car since 7th grade. That's about. I mean, really,
Well,
like
and
that's
also
about it.
she has priors though. She's the only one who has
She
priors,
does
right?
have priors. She does, and her girlfriend can't speak or doesn't
I think
speak.
she can speak. She chooses not to, and I
Yeah.
like it. I read some people were not. They're like, "What was the point?" And I was like,
Right.
"I don't know. I'm into it."
Sometimes you just have a cool little flair,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, okay, what if my guy didn't talk? Like,
Right. Right.
so it's very dramatic. It's very hard hitting. Like, everything with Stoney was like, holy moly, man! Like this, I did not realize that like this was this type of movie. And then the next 40 minutes is like a comedy,
Yeah.
and then the last 40 minutes is like a thriller.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like it feels like even cinematography changes a little bit, like tone and content. It all just, yeah, it's like they're throwing switches and like, all right, new movie. But I didn't care.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe it just like I said, it hooked me right away, and I was with these women through and through,
Hmm.
and I enjoyed it all, actually.
What I've seen from reading different articles and criticisms of the movie is that people do have like a real hard time with the big tonal shifts. So you didn't have any
I had
of
no
those
problems with
problems?
that. To me, this felt really real. Like, four girlfriends who are trying to figure shit out, and then they decide they're gonna rob banks. And it reminded me of the show Good Girls.
Okay, I haven't seen that. I'm aware of it. Christina Hendricks.
And Retta,
Yeah.
yep, and Mae Whitman, and the three of them, they do robberies to get
Yeah.
money. Like, so maybe because I've seen that show that I don't know, like the fact that it wasn't seamless and they had to keep going back. I loved it. I love the relationship between the women. Their clear personalities. Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the tonal shifts.
Yeah,
Actually,
I liked that just because they decide to rob banks doesn't automatically make them bank robbers. It doesn't
Correct.
make them criminal masterminds. They really do, like, all three robberies are just done through sheer like will
Yep.
and just doing it. Like they're
That's right.
they're like a great example of fake it till you make it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And then we get to the final one and they finally have like outfits and masks, and even though the
Barely those
masks are
masks.
clear, like
I know. That was like my biggest gripe of these disguises. Like I would never dress like this. I would never just put on a wig and glasses because I'm still in my street clothes and you can still see my stature and face.
yeah,
But that kind of added to it because they are not masterminds.
right, right, right,
Like Cleo's just like, oh yeah, here's the disguises. Here's
right.
some wigs.
But what I like about it is they're not masterminds, but they're not portrayed as what we think of as like bumbling criminals in
No,
movies. Like in comedies,
no.
right? Like you can have somebody do, and it's like all over the place. And it did remind me of Thelma and Louise, right? Because when they
Hmm.
decide to start like holding up convenience stores, they're not necessarily professionals, but they do it, and that they just get it done by doing it.
Right. And then they're just in it. And it's like, oh, we need to keep going because now we're
Yeah.
in this cycle of we need more.
Right, right, right. So I want to ask you quickly about each of the four women.
Yeah.
So first up, to Sean,
Yeah.
how did you feel about TT?
My TT, my Beth. She's the
Yeah,
one who like set off my set it off light bulb moment of like she's the Beth of the group,
yeah,
and she was so sweet and I felt for her with her kid and everything that she went through. But then also like when she needs to show up and she finally gained the courage, she can and
yeah,
she does.
yeah.
But like Aunt called it. He's like, she's gonna die. And I was like,
Wow,
no, do you think so? And he's like, yeah, one of them's gonna die. And I was
wow,
like, oh my God.
wow.
I know. I didn't feel that either. I didn't
I
think
didn't
any
feel
of
it at
them were
all.
going to die.
Nope.
But he's like, she definitely will. And he called it when she sees her son for the last time.
Wow, very good, Anthony.
I
Very
know.
good.
Anthony was good. Anthony was good.
No,
What do you think of TT?
well, I love her. My big heart in life is for the shy, quiet person to kind
Mm-hmm.
of become the not shy, quiet person.
Yeah.
And so just right away, when she's talking to Luther about like, oh, I thought you weren't going to pay me above the table and they're taking taxes out and all that stuff. I'm like, man, Sean, like, I just, feel for you. And I had no idea that she was going to die. Like my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. And then even when they get her into the car, I'm like, okay, how are they going to get out of this? And that's what I kept thinking the whole movie. Like every time something would happen, I was like, how are they going to get out of this? How are they going to get out of this? Because I believed that they were going to get out of it. Like
I know. I did too.
firmly was like, oh, they're going to do something. Something's going to happen. Like
Yeah.
when Strode, played by John C. McKinley,
Yeah.
who
Dr. Cox.
I didn't watch a lot of Scrubs, but I know
Oh,
him obviously, and
okay.
I've seen episodes, right?
Yeah.
And so seeing him in the beginning of this movie, he's doing Dr. Cox when he's talking to
Yes.
Frankie in the bank. But then throughout the rest of the movie, he's very much like not. And so it was cool seeing him in this. I thought that he
Mm-hmm.
was really good.
Yeah, he did a good
Um,
job.
yeah. But when he goes to his superior and he's like, hey, I found a connection on that bank robbery and they're friends. And the guy just like totally chews him out. He's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, do you remember what the headline was? And all this stuff with her brother. And like, now you want to pull them in because they know each other. Like, yeah.
It's
So
not
I
a
was
good
like,
look.
oh, okay. All right. Like, they keep getting away with stuff. Because every time they would drive away from a bank robbery, it would just cut to them like at home with the money. And I was like, yeah, but how? You have to show them drive away. Like
Yeah.
the cops would be, there was just a lot of things that I felt like kind of were glazed over. But so, yeah, I loved Tashawn. I thought
She was like
Kimberly
the heart.
Elise.
She's the heart of the group.
Yeah, and also this was her first movie. She had done theatrical work before, but this was her first film.
Wow.
And I also loved how after the first robbery, she did not participate.
Mm-mm.
And
Nope.
Frankie is like, "You're not getting any money." And then very quickly they're just like, "Okay, you can have the money."
Yeah, like, I'm sorry I went there. Of course
Yeah.
you're getting a cut.
Yeah.
Because they
Uh,
take care of each other.
yeah. And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." Like, it's not even a very long, drawn out thing.
No.
Yeah.
And I understood Frankie's point. Like, Frankie just went through this is the first robbery, like, pent up. Like, why should I give you a share? And it's like, yo, I'm sorry. Like, my
Yeah.
head got away from me. Yeah.
So how'd you feel about Frankie? Frankie, we start the movie with her.
We do.
Yeah.
So it's funny when we first meet Frankie, Aunt predicted, he's like, she's gonna go to jail, and that's where she's meeting Queen Latifah. That was his like. He's like, that's, and then they're gonna get out and rob. And I was like, oh, interesting that your head went there. But I like her shift from I guess she surprised me the most
Yes.
in the movie because like we meet her and she goes through this whole robbery and the person is it Lorenz?
Yeah.
Darnell. Darnell is the one
Darnell
who
and
she
Lorenz.
knew.
Yeah.
And Lorenz, right, who she knew from the projects. And when she's being questioned, I was like, this is so unfair. Like, where is this going? And then when she comes up with this whole idea of like, this is what we're going to do. And I know the ins and outs of banks and how it works. I really liked her character.
Yeah, it was really cool seeing young Vivica A. Fox doing
Yeah.
this. I read this Vulture article. It was an interview with her, and they just it was all about Set It Off, and she was giving like all these really cool tidbits and facts and just behind the scenes stuff. And she said that at the time she was like, I was like the pretty girl, and so people didn't expect me to act and talk like that. Like they didn't think that I could, act that way because
Mm-hmm.
she was doing like modeling and stuff like that. And she was like, meanwhile, I grew up 2 blocks from the hood growing up. She's like, so I knew that I could do it. I thought she was great. I thought her characters just, I don't know, everything about her just, I felt like it surprised me the most.
Yeah. Right.
Like Stony, Cleo, TT, they make sense. They're characters. But for the most part, they stick to their characters, where Frankie is just really flying far away. Like how she's introduced is, okay, yes, we know each other, we're from the same neighborhood, but I work at this nice bank and she has like a better job than everybody else, and she's not doing overnight, manual labor for minimum wage. And I think because she gets screwed over so hard by her boss and by the police and just loses everything to literally like no fault of her own, it's like, well, okay, I've done everything that I'm quote unquote supposed to do, and I still had everything taken away from me. So I'm going to rob a bank.
Right.
It's just matter of fact. Like she is angry. She's very angry. And I think she gets the line of the movie. In the beginning, John McKinley is asking her to repeat, what are you supposed to do when a gun is pulled on you? What's the protocol? What's the protocol, right? And then at the end of the movie, when he approaches her and he takes his gun off and he tries to be all nice and like, okay, it's, nobody else has to die. And she pulls a gun on him. And first of all, I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Same.
I was
Same.
like, yes, Frankie, yes.
Yeah.
But then she repeats it back to him. She's like, what are you
Yeah.
supposed to do when a gun is pulled on you?
What's
The
the
protocol?
procedure?
Exactly.
What's the procedure?
And it's just like
Mhm.
he gets that look in his eye of like, right, exactly. Like he knows everything that she's saying. And like it's good acting on his part too.
Yeah.
But it's her selling that of like, I knew what I was supposed to do, but you don't know what you're going to do until a gun is pulled on you. I really thought she was going to shoot him.
You did.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I was like, oh, this is how the movie ends. Is she kills him and then she gets killed.
I thought she was gonna get away. I really did. I thought
Yeah.
they were just, yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. So she said in that interview that she came up with the line because in the script she was supposed to just like turn around and walk away, and she was
Mm.
like, "No, I have to say something." And so she says like, "It's over," like it's all over, and then like walks away. She was like, "I came up with that."
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, good for you, man.
Good for you, Vivica. We're here for it.
How did you feel about Queen Latifah as Cleopatra? Cleo.
I love her. I love her so much. I love her energy. I love her vibe. Oh man, I laughed a lot with her. She was great. She was great. Yeah, I mean, all the way through too. And even when they, I think was it after the second robbery when they get more money
Mm-hmm.
and she just is like spending it like crazy, like it's gotten to her. Right? Was that after the second?
I think it's after the first one that she just blows all of her money. She blows her money. Yeah. It's after the first one. She spends all her money on like a car
Okay.
and
My
buying her girlfriend
apologies.
clothes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it like gets her. And you see how the money can affect each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, it was like so materialistic, so fast.
Mm-hmm.
So fast. But I also enjoyed her skills of, she can get the cars. She's the one who's getting the getaway cars and stealing the cars. So
Right.
I appreciated her skill set.
At a certain point, I was like, do we need to throw the CDs out the window every time
Aunt
you
said
steal
the
a car?
same thing.
Like,
He said the same thing. It's
yeah.
her thing, you know?
It's like the first time it's funny, but just throw them on the passenger seat,
Well, you got to get rid of them.
Remember
Yeah.
keeping CDs in your car?
Of course. Yeah.
Did you have a
Yeah.
CD visor?
I didn't. I had just a booklet that I
Yeah.
would bring with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. People talk about like texting and driving. And I was like, well,
No, we were going through CD books and trying to find and like trying to operate. And I had a CD changer so you could like load up a bunch at a time.
whoa. I don't know if I've ever
Yeah.
seen that in a car.
Yeah. So you can preload
Fancy.
them. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you're like blowing a disc
Yeah.
as you're driving, like wiping it on your
Mm-hmm.
shirt and stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Those were
And
the
you're just
days.
like, grab it. I know.
Yeah. I remember I drove cross country with my cousin. Not all the way. I think we drove to like the western side of Ohio, maybe.
Nice. Yeah.
We were dropping off like his mom's car to her or something like that. I don't even know how we got home now that I think about it. But that's not important. What is important is we had one CD in the car, and it was a best hits of the band Deep Purple,
I don't
who
know
I
Deep
think
Purple.
did like Smoke on the Water.
Sing it for us, Seth.
Smoke on the water. Ding, 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 ding. That's
Okay.
Smoke on the
All right.
Water, right?
I have no idea. I'm vibing right now. So
Anyway, we listened to it just on repeat
yeah.
for like 2 days, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a total nightmare. And we thought it'd be really funny. We were like, let's just listen to it the whole time. And then we were like, this is horrible. We can't commit to this bit.
That's funny. I like that Cleo had to pick a song. Like she would get in the car and be like, wait, I got to pick a vibe.
Right.
I
Yeah.
appreciated that.
That's what she
Good.
rides to.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
That's like, the equivalent of that nowadays is when you get your food and you can't start eating until you put on a TV show or a movie. So you just sit
Yeah.
there like,
Uh-huh.
I like Queen Latifah. I think that she's very funny, but also she's doing some good acting in this.
Yeah.
I think it's most evident when she's contrasted with Black Sam,
Yep.
played by Dr. Dre,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
who love Dr. Dre, not doing good acting in this movie.
Well, what do you want from him? He's just like trying to set up the deal so she can use the guns.
I know.
What do we need? What do we need from Dr. Dre? I was fine with it. I was fine with it.
We don't need anything from him, but it ain't good. He's doing a lot of like body stuff. Like he's doing a lot of like, he's like, oh, well, I'm thinking. And so like, as I'm thinking, I got to move my arms a little bit. Like,
Well, he's taking up space, right? He's owning what's around him. I don't know. I thought it was fine. Again, like I don't know what I was expecting from him. So
did your shooting range alarms go off when they were shooting at the range?
I did think of the shooting range. I'm not
Michelle
gonna
and I
lie.
used to work at a shooting range, not together,
I know,
years
not
apart at
together.
separate times. But one, no eye protection,
Nope.
no ear protection,
No.
which standing 4 feet apart, you got 4 to 5 people all shooting pistols. No, you would not
Right.
hear anything for a week.
I know.
And
Yeah.
then, and this was such a dumb thing that I noted, but I was like, I noted it, so I'm going to mention it. They're all shooting pistols, bam, 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 bam. And then as she walks over to talk to Black Sam, someone shoots off a shotgun, and she goes, "Ooh!" like it's loud, and a shotgun is not as loud as a pistol.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
decibels quieter.
Yeah.
So just wanted to throw that out there. That's a little shooting gun inaccuracy from movie friends that nobody cares about, but I noticed it.
And I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
definitely. You can be around shotguns going off all day long, but as soon as you get near a rifle or pistol, it's like, oh my God, turn that down.
It's so different. It's
It's
so
so
different.
different.
Remember
Yeah.
hearing it, like being down, like when you're bowling, trap, and skeet, you could hear it.
Yes, you could hear it, and
Mm-hmm.
it takes some getting used to for sure.
I hope Andrew's listening to this. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew. Trap God.
Trap and skeet.
Cleo's ending,
Yeah.
I loved, just kind of all around.
That felt very Thelma and Louise.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you I don't want to name movies because they're movies that we haven't done and we might do. But when you think about big blaze of glory endings for crime movies, this is good. It's really good. And when she stops in the tunnel and she's thinking, I was like, is she going to drive into this helicopter?
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought she was going to like play chicken with the helicopter and just like, go for it. Maybe as she's hurling towards it, she would scream, "Set it off!" or
Yeah,
something.
right? Yeah, I know.
But she realizes, she's like, we're not all getting out of this. And so she tells them, get out, run the other way. And she sacrifices herself for them.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, she's been like rough around the edges the whole movie, but ultimately she's the reason that they had a chance to get away. And
Yeah.
I really thought that she was dead when they shot her car up and you don't see her. I was like, oh, she's dead. Yeah, that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
sad. And then she
Mm-hmm.
lights a cigarette and like gets out of the car, and I was like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God.
I know. Gosh, this is so dark, isn't it? It's so dark.
It's really, it is like we're
It's
laughing,
really.
but it's different. Like it's different. Like I said, the opening 40 minutes is like traumatic dark, and
Mm-hmm.
then the last is like thriller dark, where it's cops and robbers and you know bullets, where the first part is like someone sexually assaulting you because they're going to give you money, and your
Someone
brother
dies.
your brother
Yeah.
dying for no reason, and
Mm-hmm.
a poor old white woman getting shot in the head 3 feet in
Right.
front of you during a bank robbery. And so it's different. It's very different. But
Yeah.
I think I think Queen Latifah is great, and she sells that whole end sequence.
Mm-hmm.
All right, how did you feel about Stony?
I liked Stony.
Yeah.
And at first, when we meet her, I'm like, what is her relationship to this person who ends up being her brother? And how is this going down? And how she is doing everything in her ability to make sure that they can afford for him to go to college.
Yeah, I saw several people refer to him as her nephew, her cousin, all these different relationships that were like none, like no, it was her brother. Like none of them, like their parents died. Yeah.
Yeah, tragically in a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's been caring for her brother. And I read that some people were upset with the fact that they thought it would have provided a bigger impact if he actually was going to college and then he was killed.
Yeah.
because then that would have been like, oh, this is like a bigger tragedy. I'm like, no, it's a tragedy either way. He was falsely identified and was killed.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Like, regardless if he got into college or not,
right. His
or if he was
worth
going.
academically
It,
and financially
correct.
does not
Correct.
change.
Like, that
Right,
didn't, like, when he died, and I was like, imagine if he got into college, this would have hurt more.
right.
No,
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 I
no,
don't
no.
agree with that. I don't agree with that.
So that was part of the rewrites for the movie.
Mm.
Originally, the way that the script was originally written and accepted by New Line Cinema was that Stoney was a crack addict and that her
Mm.
brother was a crack dealer.
Ooh.
Yes, and they went in and changed things. They ad-libbed different scenes and they tried to make it more realistic, less stereotypical.
Yeah.
And that was one of the storylines that they changed. And F. Gary Gray was like, nope, we're not going to do that.
Good.
Instead,
Good.
he's going to be going to college and she's trying to do everything she can to get him there. And when she does, the thing that she didn't want to do, told herself that she wouldn't do, right? Because when that guy comes around, she says, like, yeah, he offered me a job, but he wanted something else too. So we
Mm-hmm.
know that she's busting her butt working overnights as a janitor. She could have this better job making, 2,000 a month selling cars, but she's not willing to like be used,
Yeah.
which like of course not, absolutely not. And so she thinks, okay, what I'm doing is working. And when she realizes, like, all right, what I'm doing isn't working, that's when she steps over the line. And when she thinks, okay, I've solved it all, only to come to find out he didn't even get accepted. And then she loses him. I totally understand why then she's like, I need to leave. I need to get out of
Yes.
here. Like, I just can't be here anymore.
Right. And she wants more for herself because she doesn't want to be in this neighborhood. And they have this conversation constantly of like the girls about leaving the hood, so to
Yeah.
speak. Like, are we destined to be here? Is this our home or could we have more one day?
Yeah.
And another thing I read was a lot of people were upset that she does start a relationship with Blair Underwood's character.
Yeah.
And all at the end just to like leave him. Did she use him? I don't know. I liked it. I also showed that there is a possibility for her to be someone else, to be looked at by someone else who's maybe a good person. What did you think of that whole relationship? Do you think it was necessary?
It's, like I said, I wanted to preface this episode by saying I like this movie. This movie's like it's like a bit of a mess, but in a real good way. It's like the most passable mess to have. And you could look at some of those things and say, tighten it up, take this out. What is this? What is the motivation? When they go to scope out the first bank, she gets hit on by Blair Underwood and she's like, yeah, okay. they they end up like not really scoping out the bank, and then all of the scenes with him are only with her, right? So at
Yeah.
that point, like, all we're doing is having more conversations about their experience and having more development for Stoney.
Mm-hmm.
And so the movie is about all four of them. It can feel like that's the easiest place to kind of cut and like, what is this for, right? But it brings up pretty interesting questions about um Michelle and I have been saying all month we're not Black people, and so it's hard for us to understand and talk about any of this stuff in any kind of knowing way. But it's at least interesting that Keith raises the questions of Black people don't think about the future. Where do you see
Mm-hmm.
yourself in 5 years? And she's just like, I don't know. And later on, Stoney asks Cleo, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And she says, I don't know and I don't care. It's interesting that the discussion is brought in, and it's brought in
Mm-hmm.
from someone who has no idea who he is talking to, what she's been through, what she's currently doing. And I thought that it was just encapsulated incredibly when he's talking about her brother. And, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well, I've been working to put my brother through school. Oh, that's great. He should go. Yeah, well, he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like brick wall moment where he's like, okay, I'm talking about something that I have no experience with, and he's trying to educate her. Meanwhile, she could educate him on
Yeah, for sure.
what her life is actually like. And yeah,
Yeah.
I might not be thinking about the next 5 years of my life because I'm trying to get through today.
Right. Yeah.
So I appreciated all that. I want to talk about this sex scene.
In Vogue playing? Gosh, what a bop.
We don't often highlight sex scenes in films. I feel like we don't really cover many movies that have them like a full on out and out, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Last sex. Yeah, I don't know.
But this one is wild.
I
Like it,
literally, I go, is that her butt cheeks? And Aunt goes, yep. And then Aunt's like, he is running. I think it was like a necklace down
yep.
her butt, like, and under her back. And I was like, nice. Because I was just singing in Vogue. I was like,
Well,
yes,
when
I
the
love
song
this
started, I
song.
was like, "Oh, I don't think I know this song." And then it hit the chorus. I was like, "Oh,
Have
I
the
know
right
this
to
song."
lose control.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it's so good.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's what I was just
great.
like bopping. And I was like, oh man, that's a butt. I'm into it.
But yeah,
Yes.
it's very ridiculous. Like it looks like a music video. It straight up like changes
It
to look
does.
like a music video, and like
They're making love.
yeah, I guess
It's
so.
passionate.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's oily. That's for sure.
It's passionate. It is passionate.
At one point, Jean Marie was like, "Oh, come on." But yeah, I was like, "Okay, all right." And we're doing everything here. We're doing it all in this movie, I guess. The movie opens with Frankie. And so our alarms are going off, main character, main character. And
Yeah.
the movie ends with Stoney. And there's not necessarily like a clear cut handoff between the two. Like it really, like you were saying, it just feels natural. It feels like a story about four women and one of them gets away.
Hmm. As it goes on, we start to develop Stony just a little bit more of what
Mm-hmm.
she wants because
Yeah.
of this relationship that she has with
Yeah.
Keith. And so it kind of makes sense of where we end up.
Yeah. One thing before we get to towards the end on Keith, I wanted to ask you as a woman, you're going on a date with somebody. They stop on the way to buy you a new dress and get your hair done. At that point, how do you feel about that person?
I'm so conflicted on this
Mm-hmm.
because she shows up in an outfit that's probably not black tie appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And she
Very
says something.
90s.
It's very 90s. And she goes,
Yeah.
oh, Frankie, right?
Yeah.
And he says,
She
I
says I
did
look like
lie.
a Crayola box or something.
It's right,
Box of
a
crayons.
box
Yeah.
of crayons. And he's like, I did lie to you about one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this motherfucker's going to drive to get her a new outfit. Like, this is the moment we're going to have. But she she looked beautiful, but we are
Yeah.
changing her appearance. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm still actually processing this feeling.
Yeah.
Did Jean Marie have any thoughts? I'm assuming she watched this part with you.
Yeah, she didn't. I did say to her, I was like, I can't imagine going on a date with someone and being like, your clothes suck. Let's go buy you some new clothes.
Yeah.
We know as the character, she says, like, this is the best night of my life.
Right.
She likes that he is taking care of her and like buying her really nice clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not a jerk about it. It's just like the action itself
I know.
is like very hard to parse and see like the kindness of it.
Right. There's something icky about it.
Oh man, yeah. I was just like, that's the biggest gamble in a movie about amateurs robbing banks, like pulling off and being like, also, can we do something about your hair?
Right. And that outfit.
Yeah, like ay.
Maybe we didn't see the conversation of, hey, like, I do like what you're wearing and maybe wear that on date night. But would you be opposed if we stopped at a shop so you could pick out a more appropriate dress for tonight's
Yeah.
event
Yeah.
and you can pick it out?
Yeah. like I said, it makes it easier that she has no reservations about it. Like
Yeah.
you don't see her bitter or upset. She's having the best night of her life. And
Yeah, she's
so
not offended. She's not offended.
the part of me that is like, okay, Stoney, I love you. I'm like, okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy
Yeah.
for you.
Yes.
Meanwhile,
Yes.
I'm like, I need to pull Keith aside and be like, look, dude.
Well, Keith knows what's he's. Oh, I can't say that, so I'm just not gonna say it. Cut all this.
I like Keith overall. I like him. You know, he's cooking and he's doing his
Yeah.
thing. He's definitely, like I said, he's coming from a different world from hers, and he's trying to educate her. And they have
He's
to
also
net.
just so quick to want to take care of her. You can stay
Yeah,
with me. I'll
yeah,
get you anything in the world. Like he's just so enamored with her.
yeah. Isn't it weird when characters like that in movies aren't already in relationships? Like all
Wow.
of them. Like
Like that's a red
Cleo
flag.
is the only one who's dating somebody. Like,
Oh, you mean in this movie in particular? Or
yeah.
just in general?
Well, in general too, but like this guy, like, you don't have a girlfriend, man?
Well, he just moved here.
Nah,
But what were you doing before that? You don't have like
true,
a long, you didn't have a relationship?
true.
Mm-hmm.
Moving towards the end, when TT gets shot and Stoney's holding her in the back, I think it might be the best scene in the movie. Just because everyone's freaking out and they're trying to get the other car started, and Stoney is talking to TT, and it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah. And then they leave her body.
Yeah,
And that really didn't sit right with me.
yeah,
But I get it. It's what we have to do. I was like, man,
yeah,
no, you could just leave your friend. TT.
yeah. It was pretty rough, but great acting, I thought,
Yeah.
from both of them in that scene. And I know a lot of people have problems with like this movie in terms of, well, why do they have to die? Why did we have to show that like they don't get away with the crime, and why can't they just be happy? I I can't speak for this movie specifically, but it's quite common, you know, in crime and heist movies for not everybody to make it out, and it gives the story weight and reality. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, like I said, I didn't expect any of it. None of them. I thought they were all going to get away.
I did too.
Yeah.
I mean, I truly didn't think. And then I was like, okay, if TT dies, we're not going to have more deaths.
Right. Well, yes. Yeah. When she died, I was like, oh, that's it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a question that I meant to ask you. So Lorenz, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's friends with Stoney's brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't pick it up until I watched it for a second time. But when Stoney comes in with the check from the car dealership guy, her brother's
Mm-hmm.
on the phone with Lorenz because he's like, bottle of champagne, blah, blah, blah. I'll come over. Do you think that he purposefully set him up with that haircut, or do you think it was all benign? Because he didn't necessarily know that the cops
I
were onto
know.
him and had a picture of his haircut. What did you think?
I see where you're going with that. I actually think it was like just innocent
Yeah.
because he doesn't influence him to get the haircut. He doesn't like force him.
Right. He
What's
sees the
Stoney's
haircut.
brother's name? I'm drawing a blank because I just keep calling him Stoney's brother. Stevie.
Stevie. Yeah, Stevie and Stoney.
Right. So Stevie goes and he's having this conversation with Lorenz, and Stevie's like the one who's like, oh man, your hair. Like, I want that.
Yeah.
And he's like, really, you do? And then I don't know if that's his girlfriend who ends up doing it for him. So
Yeah.
I think it was just an unfortunate coincidence that this occurred.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure. The second time around, I was like, okay, I think it was. I don't think it was on purpose. Because he does
Right?
seem like he's congratulating him. He wasn't allowed to come to the
Yeah.
party because
Right.
Stoney doesn't like him. Right.
Right.
Which, when the movie started and Stoney's throwing a costume party, I was like, oh, Michelle's going to love this.
You bet. You called it. That's exactly what I said. I was like, man, do I love a 70s themed party.
And the other thing that I had to mention with that is this movie is taking place in 1996. And so if we were throwing the equivalent party today, it would be 1999, early 2000s party.
Wow, I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah.
All right, we could do that. I'm okay with that, actually.
That's right, folks. It was only 20 years ago.
The
Their
fact that
time.
it's 1996 and what got me is when Stevie's like, yo, that's fat.
Oh, yeah.
Remember fat?
Yeah.
Remember we used to say that?
Cleo says to her girlfriend, next time I page you, you better call me.
Yes. The
And I was
pagers.
like, man, were pagers ever for cool people? Like that wasn't just for nerds?
No, everyone had a pager. My
Wow.
dad sold them, the beeper outlet.
That's right. I didn't have a pager. I wasn't cool.
No, I wasn't old enough.
Right. Who are you be
We-
beeping?
Mom, get me a snack.
Right.
Give me my bologna and graham crackers.
How did a beeper work? It would send like a message, right? It's like a tweet. It's limited text, right?
I believe so, or just like a shorthand of numbers, and then you knew to call that person.
Okay.
It's like kind of nice, like a little like less intrusive way to get in touch.
Yeah.
Quicker than a letter coming in the mail.
Quicker than a letter. That's right. That's
I
right.
remember my dad in his at the beeper outlet, his store, he had pink and blue beepers, and they were see-through, kind of like the see-through
Ooh,
phones. Remember,
sure.
like, and I wanted the pink one so bad. Man, I also had like beeper gum.
I do remember beeper
You remember
gum.
the beeper gum?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about the Godfather scene.
I'm so happy that we've covered The Godfather because this scene would have been lost on me. Like, what
Yeah.
a waste if I
Yeah.
didn't know this.
Yeah.
I love this scene so much.
I think that this is the top of the heap for like examples of why this movie has crazy tonal shifts and
Yeah,
just
but it's like a group of your friends, right? Like, it works for friendship. Like, you're going to joke around with your friends. You're going to have hard times with your friends, especially if you're robbing a bank together. And so they come together because it's Cleo and Stoney that get into it. Like, she's spending all the money. And they're like, we have to, and one of them says,
I
I
feel like
need
it's
more
Cleo and
money.
everybody. I feel
Well,
like
Cleo and
everybody gets
everyone.
into it with Cleo.
Right. And so then Frankie orchestrates in a very Godfather scene, you know, can you agree to these terms? Here are the
Yeah.
Dons. And they all do like their Italian accent. It's so good. It's so good. Man, I loved it.
It's so
Did you
weird.
like this? You liked it,
Yeah,
right? Come on.
I thought it was really funny. I thought it was really
Okay.
funny. And like I said, it was cool to see like young Vivica A. Fox doing Don Corleone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I never would have imagined that.
Even her mouth, she
Yeah.
made it so she like
Yeah.
up.
And
Great.
next to one of them, they did have grapes on the table. So I was wondering if they were using grapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny.
They filmed this at 3:30 in the morning, according to Vivica A. Fox, and everyone kept falling asleep during everyone else's takes, and she was getting upset that they weren't awake to see her takes. It's but it's really, really funny. And even like TT, who's like very shy, like she does it.
Yeah.
She's doing a voice, and who knew? Doing accents can be fun.
That's right.
But like it seems so weird because they are joking around, but like they're also talking about like very, very serious things.
Yeah, it
And
reminded me of something like Aunt would do with the Thursday Crew.
hmm,
And what I mean by the Thursday Crew, my husband Anthony hangs out with a group of guys that he's been hanging out with for like 20 years every Thursday. In fact, to go back to the top of the show, there's a reason why we're going on this whole cruise.
yeah.
Because it's like a special, it's a leap year, and there's something with like the Thursday Crew that's happening the fact that leap year is happening on a Thursday. That's why we're going on this cruise with these people for the
So
Thursday
it's a
Crew.
Thursday cruise.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I feel, and they vote, they wear like capes and stuff and they vote around with a coffee container. I don't know what they do. Anyway, so these four women deciding like, okay, we're going to stick together and we're going to rob another bank. This is how we're going to discuss it. I was like, yeah, okay. This is friendship right here. This makes sense to me.
You realize that you just confused listeners and gave them all this information without answers, and they're going to be like, please, you have to give us more info on this.
I don't have more. That's the thing. That's the thing about the
Okay.
Thursday crew.
Well,
I
because
don't
you
know.
record Thursdays, so you're not really like around, right?
Yeah, but I can't even understand what they talk about even when I'm not around.
Okay.
Like, I'll just enter a room and they'll all be wearing purple cloaks and they're like, we're voting right now.
Are you sure that your husband is not part of a cult?
Yeah, it's the Thursday crew cult.
Because
You can't even begin to understand they like try to solve problems like, is a hot dog a sandwich? And they discuss things like you can't have more than X amount of favorite things. I can't.
yeah, I do remember that one. So it was something like you can't have more than 50 favorite things.
Right, because they all fall into other I hate it so much, Seth, that
Yeah.
when Sam texted you like, "Oh, I know Seth could answer," I was like, "Don't. Let's just not feed into this."
Well, yeah, I definitely, knowing them, I know that it's not. But yeah, you definitely just described like an Illuminati type,
All right.
wearing
Well,
cloaks, taking votes, trying to solve problems thing. So
well, all right.
I also love in the Godfather scene how they keep calling Cleo Cleomenza instead of
Oh my
Clemenza.
I loved it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was pretty great.
And they each were a Don.
So I have a question for you. How does a lineup work?
Uh what you mean like to pick someone up
Well, so they
and
pull Cleo in.
identify?
They pull
Yeah.
Cleo in to take part in this lineup because they think that she did it. Who are the other people on this lineup? How do you get them?
Others like suspicious activity.
Like, are you just pulling in random people off the street? Or
I
are these other
see.
criminals who are like in the station at the time?
Perhaps.
I've never
Maybe
understood this.
maybe with similar accounts, like being accused of similar things. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I
Like,
I, I
how are
wish
you
I had
finding
better.
10 random people at one time to just be like, hey, come in here? And if someone recognizes you, you're going to jail forever.
Yeah, I wish I paid attention to what the others look like. Like, did they all look alike? Like, Cleo stands
No,
out the most.
nobody
Cleo
looked like
stands out the
Cleo.
most.
Nobody looked like
Right.
her.
Because they know it's her,
Right.
but
So
the
they're just
woman
trying to get
who.
her to identify her. But
That's right.
what are those other people? Are you getting paid? And I guess that's
No,
really my question. My question
I'm not
is,
getting paid.
am I able to get paid to be like a
You,
professional lineup guy?
you want to be a stand in?
Well, you know how they have professional patients?
No.
Oh, you don't know that?
No.
So in
Please
medical
enlighten
school,
me.
yeah, so like when you're going through medical school and you have to do assessments, you're supposed to be able to assess somebody. I can't remember, in like 10 seconds or 30 seconds or a minute or something like that, right? From walking in the door, you're supposed to do all of these checks to check like physical, like, eyes, how are they breathing? You ask them questions, and like the questions that you ask are like both to get information, but also to check like for neurological connectivity, well, all that stuff. Okay, whatever. And so they need to practice. So there are like actors who are given like a disease that they have, and they have to know all the symptoms of it. And the doctor, through asking all these questions, is supposed to be able to pinpoint like what disease that person has.
So it's like a secret shopper,
Secret doctor.
secret doctor,
Yeah.
secret patient.
Yeah.
The doctor doesn't know that this person's an actor.
No, they do.
Oh.
Yeah. But they still
Oh,
have
I
to assess
see.
them. Yeah.
Got it. Oh, you should do this. You'd be so good at this.
Well, I want to be secret lineup guy.
I don't think it works like that because they're actually trying to find the
But
culprit.
but somebody's got to be in there with them.
No, not everybody, not every lineup works.
Well, right, but I'm just saying, like, when the cops, like, they bring in Cleo because she did it, but a lineup has to have more people. So like they know that these other people aren't involved.
That's true.
So
But
like who are
imagine if
they?
you're lining up and the guy's like, "Yeah, that's him," and the cops are like, "No, no, that's
But-
actually not."
But they can't tell them. They don't tell them. They just say, "Okay, thank you." And if they pick the wrong person, then the cops can't use that in the court. They can't say they identified them. So like if they pick me, it's not like I'm going to jail. Like I'm not getting pinned for this.
I could just see like a headline, like, man tries to make extra cash but falsely gets accused and is
Yeah.
now in a trial for
I get picked
murder.
in every lineup that I'm in, no matter what the
That's right.
crime is. They're like, it was that guy. Like, are you sure you recognize him? I don't know if I recognize him, but man, it looks like it could be that guy.
That green
Yeah.
beanie.
Yeah.
The guy was definitely wearing a green beanie.
Send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. If you know how lineups work, please. We got some good feedback on the torches thing when we didn't know how torches worked.
Yeah, please educate us. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever in your life had so much cash that you just throw it up in the air?
Never. No.
This made me so anxious because
Yeah.
I get it. Like, we're happy. We get all this money. I am not throwing it up in the air.
No.
It's going to fall in crevices. They're in a garage. And then you have to pick it all up. Why
I
do
know.
people want to bathe in their money? Money
I
is
know.
gross.
Yeah. No. It was a cool shot, though.
No, it always
Frankie
looks cool.
up top going through the little chute.
And we
Yeah.
get the slow-mo of it falling, right? It's always
Yeah.
a cool shot. But like, who actually does this?
I don't know. Maybe if you and I robbed a bank.
Oh man.
Okay, so
We
let's
robbed
say you, me, Anthony, and G-Marie rob a bank.
Okay.
Who are you out of these four?
I'm probably TT. I'm not even going in. I'm taking the bus back.
Okay.
I think you're Stony.
Oh, I think I would be Cleo because I would just be in the middle of the floor yelling at everybody.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Aunt or Jean-Marie would be Frankie because they would know everything.
Yeah.
They'd be like, get the cow, get the blah, blah,
Right.
blah.
The cow.
Like, they would be like really tuned into how to do this.
Right.
And you could yell things, and then I would just be like down on the ground. I like when TT was like dressed as a civilian.
Right.
I could do that.
Yeah, I wrote
And
my
they'd be like,
notes.
you speak up. You speak up.
Why are you laying down on the ground? And then
I like that.
I saw it. And
Yeah.
that's why. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
That was good.
How'd you feel about Stony grabbing a sombrero on her way into the bus?
She's got to fit in. She's got to get away.
Gotta blend in.
Got to blend in. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, tell me she's going to get on this bus and they're going to check for tickets.
Well,
this movie's never going to end.
They weren't checking for tickets, thankfully. They were checking for sombreros that day.
That's right. That's right. Sombrero check, counter.
So whoever she took their sombrero went to get on.
Right.
They're like, no.
There's no room for you.
Absolutely not.
You don't have a hat.
So I did want to kind of talk about Strode. Like, I know that we're supposed to feel somewhat sympathetic for him because he feels bad because Stoney's brother died, and now he's watching like 3 of these girls die, and he's not trying to kill them; he's trying to catch them.
You're right.
How did you feel?
No, I didn't feel sympathetic.
Yeah, me either. I was like, man.
No. I mean, I guess that towards the end, when he's like, don't shoot, like he was telling his team, like, don't.
Yeah.
Like, let's try to like stop the problem here. But then they shoot anyway. But I think we did have like a turn of tone for him for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about the beginning to where we end.
Yeah.
I think he
and
did
then
a
he
good
does
job.
he does let Stoney go. Like he sees her.
He
lets her go.
does. But like, okay, you get away with this money, and Stoney gives the call to Keith, and I'm free now.
Yeah.
How, like, what do you do? How long does this money last you?
Well, precisely. I mean, we know from House Party in 1990 that he paid $15,000 for his house.
That's right. And she's in Mexico.
She goes to Mexico. Things are cheaper there. She very well could have bought a house, and I don't know. But I mean, yeah, you have no ID. You're like literally on the run for multiple bank robberies.
Right.
I think you can't think about it too much. She rides off into the sunset.
She literally does.
Yeah.
And I like that, but if I think too much about it, it actually makes me anxious. I'm like, you have no plan.
No,
we're just
I
going
agree.
back to Keith. We have no 5-year plan.
I agree. She does cut her hair all off though.
Yeah.
I was like, it looks good.
Looks great.
Yeah. That's all that matters.
As long as you look good.
Yep.
And you got a Jeep.
Did you cry?
I didn't, but
I didn't either, and I kind of thought I
felt
would.
the feels. I felt the feels for sure.
Yeah. When they're showing her on the bed in Mexico, and she's flashing back to all the different scenes of the movie. I was like, oh man.
What's the time span? Did this happen in like a week? 2 weeks?
I think it had to be longer.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I tried to pay attention to see if there were
Yeah.
specific dates given, but yeah, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt and saying from the time of her brother's death to the time she leaves town, probably a couple months.
Hmm. Okay.
But that's just my guess.
Did you feel there was a connection with the fact that Keith is like, I'm making Mexican food?
Yes.
And then she ends up in Mexico?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I pulled a few quotes here. One was from Vivica A. Fox, and she's quoting F. Gary Gray. She says that he said, listen, the one thing that I don't want to happen with this film is that people think this is going to be a comedy. I want everyone to understand why these girls, I want all the storylines to make sense. I want you to tug at people's heartstrings for them to understand that these 4 girls' backs were against the wall, that they'd been cheated and robbed by life. Jada lost her brother. You got fired from your job. Cleo, you just need something to do. And TT, they took your son.
Cleo just needs something to do.
And then Takashi Buford, who was one of the writers on the movie, says New Line rejected the movie 3 times because they thought that young black men wouldn't support a movie about black women with guns.
Wow.
Is that interesting?
That is really interesting.
Wild. So we asked our friends on Twitter what they thought about this movie. And I got to say, pretty disappointed in our friends on Twitter again. What's going on here?
What is happening?
What's going on? You guys hate black people?
Seth.
Michelle's jaw just dropped. Have you guys not seen this movie? Come on.
That must be it.
I mean, we hadn't seen this movie until a few
Right.
days ago.
I mean, me makes sense, but you, I'm shocked.
So we got a response from Jamila
Our girl.
at
Yeah.
Jamila Brownie. She says, I think I said a while ago when you did Thelma and Louise that this would pair well with it. I still feel that way. Amazing performances in this one. Tear-jerking, but you do feel the camaraderie between the girls. So interesting seeing Queen in a role like this, too.
Mm-hmm. So young, too. 20, I think.
Thanks, Jamila.
Thank you.
Now we go to a segment of the show where we hear from people that we don't know on the internet. It's called Half Star, 3 Star, 5 Star. All right, these are reviews from letterboxd.com, which is an app and a website where you can log, rate, review films. It's a great tool if you don't use it already. It'll save you a lot of time. You can also follow people on Letterboxd, like Michelle and I.
Yeah, I mean, follow Seth.
You can follow me at Seth Vargas, and you can follow Michelle at Mitch Ruby.
Is that my name on there?
It is. So we start with a half-star review, which is the lowest rating that you can give a movie, and we go all the way up to a 5-star review, which is the highest rating that you can give a movie. And this movie does not have, this is, I think, the 3rd lowest logged film that we've done on the show. House Party, Miami Connection, and then this one.
Wow.
Yep. As such, there were only 6 half-star reviews for this movie. Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, wow. Okay.
All right, so the half-star review, I will read. I'm going to do a Don Corleone voice in honor of the mafia scene. Okay.
Got it.
I have to get into like position. Like,
Seth looks like a turtle right now.
yeah.
No neck. You're doing an impression of a hot dog.
I never thought that joke in Mrs. Doubtfire was funny as a kid. And then I watched it as an adult. I was like, oh, that's actually really funny.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Okay. All right. So this is Vivica A. Fox as Marlon Brando as Vito Corleone. Yeah. Great cast. Terrible plot. Thought it was going to be a heist film. Ended up being a plot-driven pile of junk by killing off all the black female leads. Traumatic and trash.
Seth, I have to say, if I heard that voice, I would not assume it's you.
Oh, good. I'll use that. That'll be my lineup voice.
There you go.
Sometimes in a lineup, they'll be like, okay, repeat these words. I'll whip out, or I'll whip out one of my British ones. Oi!
And then like work Kermit in there.
Yeah. Give me the gun.
I'm gonna fall over. Oh my God.
Put the money in the bag. You didn't see anything.
Oh my God, I'm crying. Seth will just like go into something funny or a voice and then just go back to normal like you're a professional. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I need to compose myself. Like, screw you, Seth. Okay, so that half-star review is bogus.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about like, why are we killing off all the black female leads? And to that, I would just say it is the genre. That's all I can say.
Yes, and while I hate to see our friends die, it worked for the movie, like
Yeah.
the story of what they did.
3-star review says, first act works like gangbusters. Definitely understand the Widows comparisons, which is a more recent movie Steve McQueen directed. But this gets badly sidetracked by a romantic subplot with Underwood and a bloated runtime. This could shave off easily 20 minutes and feel far more purposeful. And some of the performances feel stuck in that exaggerated 90s mode in a way that a different director could have finessed. But the actual bank robber stuff is incredibly entertaining, and the chemistry between the 4 leads is off the chart.
All right.
Yeah.
I feel like weirdly defensive of this movie.
Well, you know what I feel like with that review is I feel like that is seeing all of the framework and none of the heart, none of the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah.
To all of that. It's like maybe, yeah.
I guess.
90s,
Wait,
aggressively 90s though, like oh no, exaggerated 90s mode. It was the 90s. What do you mean?
I don't know what that. I don't understand.
We're
that
not
point.
making a 90s period piece now and
Right.
putting them in saying fat and beeper.
Is that what we would call it if we made a 90s movie today? Would we call it a period film?
Absolutely. Because it's 30 years ago. Yeah.
96 feels like it was 5 years ago to me.
That's like in 1970s making a movie about World War II.
Yeah. I know I understand what you're saying. It's just I have a hard time yeah. Okay.
5-star review says, this movie gives all 4 leads such distinct backgrounds, great interiority, and moments together that it's always affected me. All 4 leads show up to absolutely kill their parts and share scenes with each other. There's some convenient shortcuts and heavy-handed parts in it because, yeah, it was trying to be a mainstream success in the 90s, but I'm still going to love it.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah. All right. So that's it.
That's it.
Set it off. What are you rating this movie? How do you feel about it? You want me to go first? You want to go first?
I think you should go first.
Okay, I'll go first. I had never seen this movie before, and now that I have, I am a set it off guy. I think that if we can watch The Sting, Sneakers, Ocean's 11, that there should be just as big of a part in that group of movies for Set It Off. And I think that it has some flaws, but the flaws can just kind of get swept up into the whole story. The Godfather scene is a great indicator of that. If you get to that part and you're rolling your eyes, you're probably not along for the ride. But it's great. I think I'm going to rate this movie 4 stars. When I first watched it and I was about halfway through, I was like 3 stars. I don't know what this is doing. And then literally when we got to Sean dying and just how it was shot, how it was acted, how it wasn't convenient, like you said, they had to leave her body, and just the weight of all of that stuff. I was like, oh man, this movie is really going for it. And then when Queen Latifah is driving through walls, driving through glass windows, I was like, okay, this isn't just a sad sack movie. Like, they're making a crazy, entertaining, cool movie for female black leads. Yes, absolutely. So 4 stars. I think that this is a movie and I recommend it to everybody. And once this episode comes out, I'll be very excited to recommend it to everybody.
I agree. This is a movie. I'm also rating it 4 stars. I feel like it's obviously not talked about it enough. Like, I guess people just did they sleep on this movie? I would definitely recommend this. The runtime didn't bother me. I love the way it started. You're fully in it. I love the female friendships. I laughed. I was very stressed out, felt very emotional. This movie had a lot of heart, and it's an edgier Little Women.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, good one. Thank you, Cosmo and patrons.
Speaking of our Patreon and our patrons, next month is our first ever patron voted month.
Awesome.
It's exciting.
It is really exciting.
I plotted out our whole year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of things that I was able to leave blank because it was going to be your input or the patrons' input and votes. I was like, this is the best thing ever that I don't have to pick.
Good. That's
every
great.
single episode. I was like, oh man, we should have done this months ago.
The true definition of movie friends.
That's right. That's right. We're trying to be more interactive. So the theme of next month, March, is going to be mystery movies.
Wow, wow, wow.
Very mysterious.
Yeah.
What movie are we doing first, you ask? Well, first, we're going to ask you that if you're listening and you enjoy this show, be sure to subscribe, give us a rating, give us a review. Hello.
Hello, we still haven't gotten one, and my
What?
cat is still dying. Hey guys, my birthday's next month.
That's
How
right.
about you leave a review as a gift?
That's right. Michelle
I
will
would love
be
that.
very happy. You have everything, right?
Everything. I don't
What
need
do you-
anything. I want
What do you give the woman who has everything?
an Apple Podcast review and
That's
a
right.
5-star rating.
It's the one thing money can't buy.
Truly.
You can also send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Please explain to us everything that we got wrong about this movie. We would love to hear it. And as we already mentioned, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. $5 a month gets you access to all of our additional episodes. It also gets you access to our patron-only Discord where you can come in and suggest movies. Hey, have you wanted us to do the movie Heat? Have you been sitting around waiting for us to do Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Have you been dying for us to cover a movie like Rocky? Well, the power is in your hands over on Patreon. And hey, we just launched a new show on Patreon. Michelle, what's the name of that show?
We sure did. Hold on. I got to pull that up because I can't.
While Michelle pulls that up, I also want to remind you we have a survey on our website. Boom, right at the top. Go to the website, take our survey, give us your feedback, let us know what we're doing right and wrong. Give us some suggestions. We take them seriously. You know how there's an intro now at the beginning of every episode that gives a summary of the movie? Guess what? That was a suggestion we got through our survey.
Wow. Just
Yeah.
making our show better. We need to hear from you.
Yeah, we're big people pleasers.
Huge.
So give us something to please.
Okay, I have the title of our new Patreon exclusive show.
All right, go for it.
Okay. And happy. I can't even say it. Okay. And Happy as Happy, a podcast by Seth and Michelle, a show that covers some episodes of Seventh Heaven.
Awesome. It's the longest titled show that we've done so far. Yeah, and it's a Seventh Heaven recap show where we're doing selected episodes from Michelle. And
yeah, there's 11 of the cringiest, worst rated episodes of Seventh Heaven because we couldn't do the whole series because we'd be here forever.
Yep.
So I just carefully chose one from each season. 11 seasons of Seventh Heaven. So you guys should listen to it. I think it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, and that show is joining Weircast, our Freaks and Geeks recap show. It's joining It's joining Ghibli Gabs, where we talk about the movies of Studio Ghibli. It's joining That's Messed Up, a show that I do with my wife, where we talk about movies that are messed up. It's joining Super Amazing Film Club, where we talk with people that we love about movies that they love. It's joining Stop or My Mom Will podcast, a show where I talk with my mom about action movies. What's going on? That's too many
Like, this
shows.
is crazy, Seth. This is so crazy.
It's literally ridiculous. You got to join up. Trust me. It'll be the best thing that you do in February. Next week's episode, to kick off Mystery March, we're going to be talking about Rear Window from 1954. It's directed by Alfred Hitchcock. You ever heard of him? And
sounds familiar.
115 minutes. Currently, this is only streaming on the Criterion channel. But just call your parents. They've got a copy laying around.
Yeah. Or rent it for date night.
Yeah. And you have seen this one.
I've seen this like 3 times.
Wow. Okay.
What's funny is I've seen Rear Window and Vertigo like 3 times. I've seen The Birds, and I still have never seen Psycho.
Got it. Yeah. Hey, those are some of the big ones, man. Hitchcock is huge. Huge. And this is like how I was saying with Spike Lee. It's kind of crazy. Like, now that time is wearing on, it's like, oh my gosh, there are these directors that we've never even scraped the surface of. So I'm excited to get into Hitchcock and Rear Window.
And mysteries as a genre. This should be interesting.
Yes, and we're going to talk about what that means next episode, because not as clear cut as one might think.
No.
Well, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Seth.
Have a good trip.
Thank you.
You're going to come back
hear my voice
stateside to a ton of new reviews. I can feel it.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. Maybe even a new Patreon subscriber too. Who knows?
Guys, that'd be so cool. So cool.
Well, thank you very much for listening. Till next week when we're talking about Rear Window from 1954. Have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Music by Anthony Vicora. If you like the show, please subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps us find new friends. Thanks.